grow, sell, thrive is cool, and it's just brilliant. I've never seen it before. It's just brilliant and really exciting. My question is going back to Sally talking about doing the analysis of what kinds of crops we should be looking at, and David talking about where can we find room for women in the agricultural markets where there's a real possibility to scale up, where the market's not overcrowded. And it just made me think, why would we inherently keep it within agriculture? Why wouldn't you say women's opportunities in rural markets? So because there's so many new markets coming in, like renewable energies or IT, and those are wide open because they're new. Wouldn't you also, the very same analysis could have added to chickens and chickpeas and crops, other opportunities there? And I know there's some start-up cost issues, but why not include getting some women out of the cluster of agriculture and the overcrowding into actually, let's get into veterinary services, but beyond that, into supplying rural energy for the processors? Or why would we inherently limit it to agriculture when market opportunities could really open up for women outside that in their communities as well?
I'll do a very top-line answer, is that women's economic leadership in agricultural markets is designed to do better program design in agricultural markets. So it is not the totality of what we are planning to do on women's economic leadership, but there was definitely a need and a demand to have the tools and the analysis and the step-by-step, how do we get the right evidence and how do we take the decision so that our agriculture enterprises and markets programs will, in the best way possible, promote women's economic leadership. So I think that it's not saying this is the only thing that we want to do for women's economic leadership. Either if you want to just add to it.
To add to that, I mean, you're absolutely right at one level. The majority of people's livelihoods in rural areas, particularly in Africa, are still heavily dependent on agriculture. We know that's diversifying globally to differing degrees, and so yes, I mean, it's very important that some people will need to diversify out of agriculture in order to have sustainable livelihoods, and over the next few decades, that's on quite a significant scale. So as Thalia mentioned, I mean, there are going to be other aspects of our livelihoods and women's livelihoods work which will need to tackle other kinds of livelihoods. But, you know, we're building on, A, the fact that currently a lot of the poorest people's livelihoods are agriculture-based, B, that's where a lot of our programme has been and still is, C, that there's a huge kind of concern globally about agricultural sector and how to make it more productive and how to feed, you know, the cities going forward. And so the agricultural sector isn't going away. You know, it's kind of, it's critical.
But I'm not saying to get them out. I'm saying there's all these other opportunities coming up. As long as we don't miss them, because we're saying we're just looking at agriculture here, and all the men go off and sell solar power and do IT and do all these exciting new things. We say that's what I hear what you're saying.
I think the challenge is correct, that we shouldn't be blinkered about. I mean, and particularly in situations where, I mean, it's not a universal pattern, but there is a tendency for, in some contexts, agriculture to become more feminised as men are migrating more, and that can be for negative as well as positive reasons. So obviously there are lots of challenges in that, and we precisely don't, as you say, want to be, you know, keeping women in unviable agricultural livelihoods in a kind of, you know, in sort of pens in rural areas. But I think the process of thinking about how women can move into more service delivery, and more value addition, more distributional type roles is actually, you know, a way in which they will also potentially diversify into other areas, because then you develop different kinds of skill sets. You develop sort of business management skill sets, you develop networks of contacts in sales, you see other sales opportunities. And so I don't think either that those are kind of, you know, you're in agriculture and you can't, and as women develop different kinds of skills within agricultural market systems, they will find and also hopefully be supported to do other kinds of things as well. Yeah.
It's very exciting. You're involved in a major kind of program shift here. So my question is, how long before our livelihoods programming can get to where we think it wants to be? And it kind of links to the campaign opportunities as well. You know, as you're doing that shift, At what point do we get almost like a kind of tipping point where what we're doing on the ground can have a real impact in terms of the campaigning that we're trying to do at a regional or a global level? Because there is obviously there's a kind of key dependency on some of that.